So we are going to study about the blood supply to PONS. Okay, so before going to blood supply to PONS, we should understand the concept from where and all the blood is going to come towards the PONS and our brainstem, then how it is going to supply the blood to PONS, right? So after that it will be very convenient for us to understand the hemorrhagic lesions inside the PONS. Okay, so see the heart, this is the left ventricle, through the aorta blood is going to pump up. See, from that there is a brachiocephalic trunk. Okay, brachiocephalic trunk, then there is a subclavian artery, then the common carotid artery. Again, the common carotid artery is going to divide into external and internal carotid arteries, right? These concepts we also know this one, right? So the subclavian artery is going to give rise on both sides the vertebral artery. These vertebral artery are going to arise from the subclavian artery, runs backwards, and when it comes to the neck region, it passes through the transverse process of each cervical vertebrae, and again it enters through the foramen magnum towards the brainstem. Okay, so this brain blood supply is of two systems, one from the internal carotid artery from here, the anterior side, and the branch of the subclavian artery which is running and coming, entering inside, which is going to supply to the brain by from the posterior side, forming the circle of Willis. Circle of Willis, we are going to understand our blood supply to the brain. We have another lecture there, but here our concentration is there on the blood supply to PONS, right? Our midbrain portion here. Okay, this is our midbrain. Then we will have our PONS, then medulla oblongata, then the spinal cord. Behind there is a cerebellum, and this is the inferior surface of the cerebellum. Okay, this is inferior surface, anterior surface, and superior surface of the cerebellum, and this is a pontomedullary junction, right? So the vertebral artery which entered in the cranial cavity, okay, through the foramen magnum, as foramen magnum, suppose the foramen magnum is here, right? When this the medulla oblongata part will come, from there till the pontomedullary junction, these arteries are going to run in the medial side. Okay, they are going to run on the medial side. Then at the pontomedullary junction, both the vertebral arteries are going to join and runs in the basilar groove of the PONS as basilar artery. Okay, as we already know this one, there is a basilar groove is there on the anterior surface of the PONS, isn't it? And again it's going to run further in upwards to the midbrain. When it comes to the midbrain, above there is a cerebrum, it's going to divide here, right? It's going to divide here and runs anterior side. Okay, runs on the posterior side, right? Runs on the posterior side of the cerebrum. Our concern is to understand the blood supply surrounding the brainstem and what are the blood supply to the PONS. Okay, so when it entering here, the basilar artery will give one branch here, okay, which is going to supply the inferior surface of the cerebellum. Okay, it is going to supply inferior surface of the cerebellum, and that's the reason why it's called as a posterior inferior cerebral artery. Posterior inferior cerebral artery, or PICA, right? It's in a short form we will popularly remembered as PICA. Okay, so as it comes upwards, you can see here I have made one branch which is going to arise from the basilar artery, another one branch arising from the vertebral artery. You will find in a different type of a textbook of anatomy that certain anatomy textbooks will tell that this artery is a branch of vertebral artery, and some textbook will tell that it's a branch of a basilar artery. The fact is that this branch of the cerebellar supplying artery, which sometimes get origin from the basilar artery, and sometimes it's going to arise from the vertebral artery. Okay, in this diagram I have shown both. Okay, one here from the vertebral artery and here from the basilar artery. Whatever it is, and person to person it depends. Okay, artery name is anterior inferior cerebellar artery, anterior inferior cerebellar artery. This is a posterior inferior cerebellar artery because it supplies from posterior side to the cerebellum. It is going to inferior side, but from the posterior aspect. This is from anteriorly it's going to run and supply inferior part of the cerebellum. Both pica and ica are going to supply inferior part of the cerebellum, but their origin is from the posterior aspect, this artery, and this is from the anterior aspect of a vertebral artery. So called as a ica and this is a pica. One important thing you need to understand here, that this pica is going to supply the lateral part of the medulla oblongata. Right, this artery is going to supply lateral aspect of the medulla oblongata, and ica is going to supply lateral aspect of the pons. Okay, this is, remember, lateral aspect of the pons is supplied also by the ica because certain clinical importance is there, which I am going to deal in a couple of minutes. Okay, then in the basilar artery we have one long branch is called as a labyrinthine artery. You can see the ear anatomy here. Till here it is a external ear, and this is a middle ear, and this much is the internal ear. Okay, and the internal ear is called as a labyrinthine. Okay, since it's going to internal acoustic, through the internal acoustic meatus, along with the 7th and 8th cranial nerve which is running inside the internal acoustic meatus and going to supply internal ear. Okay, labyrinthine. That's why this artery is called as labyrinthine artery. What is a labyrinthine artery? After that, we will see that on the both side on the anterior surface, we will see that there are many short branches are there. Okay, these are the branches of basilar arteries which are going to supply almost from the anterior side to the lateral side of the pons. Okay, as you come above, this is what you know. This is a PCA, posterior cerebral artery. Okay, and you know that the third cranial nerve will come here, and below to the third cranial nerve there is another big branch will come which is going to supply the cerebellum from the superior aspect. Okay, so this artery is called as a superior cerebellar artery. Okay, it's called as superior cerebellar artery. Correct. Right. These are the major branches of the basilar artery which are going to supply the brainstem. So our concern is to see the related arteries which are supplying the pons, so that we can understand the concept of the occlusion part of this, which artery is going to get occluded and what symptoms are going to produce. Right. So these are these are branches of basilar artery. Okay. So this is a vertebral artery. Okay. Basilar artery. Okay, this is a basilar artery, the same artery here, and it has a side branches are there. Okay, and these are the side branches. From anterior side, if you see, and any book, they have given one branches are going to supply. But actually, if you see from the top view, you will see that there are three type of varieties of branches of basilar arteries are there. Right. First one is this one, which is running the paramedial aspect of the pons. Okay, not only pons. The paramedian branches are there from the spinal cord to the brainstem. Okay, this type of branches are there, right? So this is a paramedian branch of the vertebral artery which is going to supply this much area. So this branch is called as paramedian artery. What it is called as? This artery is called as paramedian artery, right? Or paramedial artery. Okay, paramedian or paramedial. Okay, paramedian artery. So this is going to supply this much part of the pons. Okay, around approximately this much around part of the pons. Okay, lateral to this one, only this area is there. Okay, small area is there which is going to supplied by this artery. Remember this one. And this is called as a short circumferential artery. This is a short circumferential artery, and the Greek line what you see, this one, okay, this is the long circumferential artery. This is long circumferential artery. Okay, this is a long circumferential artery. This much, including many cranial nuclei and the middle cerebellar peduncle, all these things are included under this much area of the pons is supplied by long circumferential artery. short circumference artery are going to supply this much area of the pons to the basilar part of the pons in the middle part, and the paramedian artery is a small branch but having a lot of importance in the supplying in the pons, right? So this is a paramedian, short circumferential and long circumferential branches are there. Because of occlusion of these arteries, we will have lot of clinical the clinical applied aspects are there. Not only these are there, and the lateral aspect of the pons is also supplied by what? So the branches of the ICA. Okay, ICA is going to supply the lateral part of the pons, that too in the lower part of the pons, not in the lateral aspect of upper part. Lower lateral part of the pons is also supplied by the ICA, and also with the long circumferential branches of basilar arteries, right? After understanding this much, we can go what are the clinical symptoms are there or clinical anatomy related with these area, right?